Hey guys, it's Rebecca Oberstadt, and in my BoxyCharm for this month, I ended up getting this Tarte palette. This is their, is it Be Beautiful? Oh, Be You Naturally. This is from one of their Amazonian clay lines. I did try and find this online when I was doing like the unboxing video, and I did a couple of looks with it. I did a get ready with me with it, and I honestly cannot find this individual palette anywhere. So if I do put a link to this palette in the description box, it's most likely just going to be of a page that has similar, you know, Tarte palettes in it. This is a mix of matte and shimmer. You've got 1, 2, 3, 4 shimmers and 1, 2, 3, 4 mattes. So you are getting 8 shadows in here. Let's see. It's 1.2 grams, or each shadow is 0.042 ounces, and it says ×8. It says it is made in the USA. But I have done a couple of looks with this, and it is beautiful, but I have some difficult times working with it. So I will be using my JCat dry brush cleaner, and I have 3 different styles of brushes. I have a flat synthetic brush, I have a fluffier kind of like detailing crease brush, this synthetic, and then this is actually a paint brush, but I use it for eyeshadow. It's also synthetic. Sometimes it has a better chance of picking up shadows that otherwise wouldn't pick up from other synthetic brushes. I didn't bring any natural brushes into this because I wanted to see how they perform just 100% with the synthetic brushes, but I'm going to be doing swatches with these, and then after I do all of the swatches out, then I will do some experiments with some brushes. Now, because the names are on the back, I'm going to have to flip this over, and I think I just stuck my fingernail in a shade. I did. There's gold under my nail. So we have Sunbeam, Daybreak, and Glacier first. Yep, there's my finger. So we have Sunbeam, Glacier, and what's this one again? Daybreak? No, Sunbeam, Daybreak, and Glacier. I don't understand how this. I can understand being Sunbeam because it's, you know, gold. I would have expected the other shadow to be Sunbeam. So here we have Sunbeam, Daybreak just crumbled all over my arm and the counter, Daybreak, and this one I'm gonna have to look again. What are you called again? Glacier? Yeah, Glacier. I'm gonna pick up Glacier again. It is a matte shadow, and you can see it on my finger, but it goes on the skin very lightly. And I mean that in the nicest way possible. I'm gonna pick up just a little bit more of the second shade. It would have been nice to have that little name sticker on this little cardboard thing in the center. That would have made more sense to me than leaving just a sticker on the back. I'm sure Tarte makes plenty of money, especially with the fact that I know I own at least one of everything from Tarte. But this little sticker here could have easily, without the extra stuff around it, this looks like the same size as this little guy in the center. So I don't know why they didn't just put the names on it, but that's just me. Alright, so then we have Crystallized, Tropical, and Earthy. So Crystallized, Tropical, and Earthy, and to be honest, I would have chosen one of those 2 shades to be Earthy, and probably this shade to be Crystallized. Please excuse the cat scratches. He was excited to get in the house and get down from being held, and he scratched off. I have scratch marks on this arm, and then I've got a few new ones that he gave me last night on the other one. Cats. Okay, so again, we have Crystallized, Tropical, and Earthy. Crystallized, Tropical, and Earthy. I got fallout counter. YA Neutral, almost my skin color shade is called Earthy. It's beyond me, and it, as you can see, it's like super crumbly. I mean, I've got enough here on the counter just to build up another swatch, I swear. So there are those. This is a beautiful palette. I've worked with it a couple of times. The second time, or I should say, I did a full face of Tarte the other day, and I honestly, I have such a difficult time working with this palette. It's swatching beautifully, again, doing double swatches, but I had such a hard time working with it, and I ended up using one of these shades as a highlight. So the last 2 are Dusk and Explore, which is this and this. And if I'm reading these wrong, maybe if the wheel is supposed to go the other way, but I figure if I look at this palette and that bronze shade is at the top, it says Sunbeam right here. And the next shade over, which is Explore, should be this one, not this one. So whether these are, you know, we've got Explore and Dusk here being two lighter shades, don't ask me. I'm confused. And again, I'm going to double swatch. I used this one and that pink one as a highlight the other day when I did a full face of Tarte, because I realized I had everything but a highlighter or a setting spray. I don't have an eye primer, a setting spray, or like a highlight, but I do have the Tarte Shape Tape, which I use as a eye primer, so it is what it is. Now with the matte shades, going into the brushes, I found that not only is there a little bit of kick up in the pan, which is perfectly okay, but there's like patchy spots. I'm gonna zoom the camera in, and I'm gonna grab a little bit more. Make sure you can see what I'm doing. This is what I had a problem with. See how it's kind of sheer here and here? And even if I like try and really like work that area, it doesn't seem to build up color. So then you go back in and you go just on that spot, and I'm tapping product on, and then I'm gonna blend like I would on my actual eyelid. This was where I had problems with this palette. Now usually when I do a swatch video, I haven't tried the palettes on my eyes. This palette I've used at least 3 times, and I'm frustrated. Now I can get it to work, but it's still patchy in here, and I don't know what I'm doing wrong. So I'm gonna grab the darker matte shade on my paintbrush, which is also a synthetic brush. There's the pigment. Make sure the camera's focused. Now granted, I am going over the tendons in my arms, and that can definitely mess up how things look. But as you can see, that was one go in the pan. I didn't have to go back in 4 times. That one went on fine. Completely fine. So I'm gonna go ahead and take this and clean my brush off, and I'm gonna pick up that other shade again and show you. Sometimes I find that working with some shadows, it depends on the brush. And I have had to switch different brushes several times trying to get things to look the way that I want them to. Granted, it's patchy here and down here because of course, the tendon in my arm. So I'm gonna grab one more go. Try and keep my arm as flat as possible so that that's what happens when you have scrawny arms. Now comparing this swatch to this one, yes, this one looks more blended. This one looks more even. So then what you could do is go back in with your little fluffy blending brush and just blend out. And as you see, I'm doing circular motions. I am blending that shadow out. I didn't pick up any more product. I just picked up the brush that had the same shade on it. And now it's more blended. But at least the pigmentation is even on it, whereas this one has like this weird patchy spot down here. Now the other test that I wanted to do is with one of the shimmers. Now this one goes on super well, the Sunbeam color. This one here is like chunky, but these two down here at the bottom, the 2 pinker shades, I had difficult times with. So I'm gonna pick this one up. There is kickback in the pan. There is the product on the brush. Waiting for the camera to focus. And I flipped it over because there were little chunkies on the brush. There's chunkies on the counter too. See how that went on? Now this is the same as this. This shade is the exact same shade as this. See the color difference? Again, with the camera not focusing. So this shade is the same as this one. See how rich in pigment this is? But this is kind of like a sheen. It's very sheer. That's what I was finding when I was trying to use the shimmer shades. So then you go in with your finger, and I'm only going to work on half the swatch, and I'm tapping it and pressing it onto the skin. See the difference? Not only did my finger press the shadow into the skin, making it look more seamless and less chunky, but it's also more metallic, and at the top it almost looks like an eye topper. I couldn't for the life of me figure out what I was doing wrong, so then I went and I got my brush wet, so let me do that. Okay, this is from the Tarte BU Naturally palette. These are all the finger swatches that I did, and then you get into some of the brush applications that I did, and then half of this next to the last one, it was done with a brush, and then the bottom half was done with my finger. And I'm not quite sure if it's going to show up, but if you look at the second swatch in, you can see how sheer it is on my arm at the top, and then after the tendons in my arm it kind of gets more opaque. That was because I tapped over it with my finger. And this palette smells amazing. It smells like food or candy or something sweet. And then that last swatch is the same shade, it's just wet. And both of those are this shade right here, which is the 4th shade in on that palette out of the 8 shades. So both these last 2 swatches are that shade. And the funny thing is, this swatch right here, the matte shade and this matte shade are this shade. And that's a finger swatch, and then this was a fluffy brush, but I was having some like patchy stuff going on the center of my arm. And then I used a flat a synthetic brush to get this, and it's more even, and then I used the fluffy brush over it to blend it out so you could see what it looks like. And the brown shade, which is this one up here, no matter what brush I use, this one seems to work pretty well. So you'll understand my frustration with this palette if you watch to the end. But this is a beautiful, natural, everyday kind of work palette for those of you that work in offices that cannot wear color on your eyes because your bosses are prudes. So hopefully these swatch videos are helpful to you. Enjoy. Alright, I got some good old water from the sink. I'll squeeze the tip of it. I'm going to go ahead back into that shade. There's the color. I'm going to go right next to where I applied the first swatch. See the pigmentation difference just by getting water on my brush? And since I ran out of product, I'm going to go back in. And usually if I use a wet brush on something, I always go into the very same spot on every pan, so that way I know where I've used a wet brush. So if I get hard pan or something, then I know I don't have to worry about, oh, why is that spot different? It's because I got it wet and it's my fault. Same shade. Let's see the difference in the vibrancy using a wet brush versus the dry synthetic brush versus the finger versus the just a finger. I mean, there is such a big difference in these shadows, and I was kind of in a hurry. I was trying to get to a place to drop off an application, and I wanted to look pretty and put together, but still, you know, have a little bit of something on my lid that was sparkly. And I was like so frustrated working with this palette, trying to figure out what the heck I had done wrong, why it was so patchy, why it wasn't blending properly, why some of the shadows looked one way versus the other. I had so many issues with it. I ended up switching brushes a bunch of times. I have about 12 dirty brushes now from doing one eye look that had 3 shadows in it. So that's a little disappointing, but sometimes I found that using certain brushes made the shadows actually perform better. They did not like natural hair brushes at all. I did find that. So that was another trial and error thing. I tried to use a natural hair brush and got shadow on it and went to put it on my lid, and there was nothing there. Absolutely no pigment, no payoff, no nothing. So I was like, okay, we gotta change tactics here. And so I did, and come to find out that it is very finicky palette. It is beautiful. It's something that if you like work in an office and you cannot wear color, that this would be great to wear every day. If you don't mind a sheer looking metallic shade, you can use just a regular flat synthetic brush to get a nice sheen on any look that you're doing. If you want more oomph, you can use your finger, and if you want a kapow, then get your brush wet, because I mean, look at how beautiful that is. these are workable shadows. I was just super, super frustrated with them. So hopefully this was helpful. Hopefully, you know, doing the swatches of the palette out and then showing you different techniques with the different brushes, you know, because this, and this is all the same shade, but you can't really tell by looking at it. I know some other YouTubers are doing actual eye swatches. My eyes get irritated really easily. That's why I use my arms. I swatch on my arms, and then I will, you know, get a shower or whatever and wash them off after an hour or so to see if they have staining, and then I won't do any more arm swatches for like 24 hours just because I have super sensitive skin, very dry skin, so I am very careful with what I do to my skin. So hopefully this is helpful. This is the Tarte BU Naturally palette. I hate that there's fingerprints all over this. It drives me insane. I am one of those like super OCD people that likes to keep their stuff clean. But it wipes off nice and easily. I mean, it is a beautiful palette. You just need to work with it. So if you're finding you're having a difficult time with shadows, try using different brushes, not different techniques. It most likely will not be your technique that's the problem. It's most likely the shadow just hates the brush you're using. So I know that's bad to say, but maybe the high-end eyeshadow wanted a high-end brush and you use a drugstore brush with it that said, oh, you're drugstore and you're touching me? Oh, no. No. We cannot have that. I need a high-end brush, a high-end brush, or I'm not going to give you any pigment. So that's that. Sorry for rambling as per usual. I mean, it is me. Welcome to my channel. I'm Rebecca Oberstadt. So if you like this video, give it a thumbs up. Definitely leave me your comments down below. If you have this palette, if you got it in your BoxyCharm, or if you got it before BoxyCharm, let me know. I am curious to see when this was actually sold, if it's ever been sold by Tarte, or if this was something made specifically for BoxyCharm, because I am curious. Anyways, I will see you guys in another video very soon. Have a great day or night wherever you are. Bye.